Samsung might bring you a private vault for your images with the One UI 8. It sounds like Samsung is trying to amp up privacy in the One UI 8 Gallery app by providing a new option to keep your photographs and movies out of sight. While Samsung is currently rolling out the One UI 7 in the US, early chatter regarding its follow-up is already beginning to surface up. The One UI 8, based on the future Android 16, is already being tested behind the scenes. If everything goes to plan, we'll see it drop sometime after Android 16 becomes stable in June, delivering some clever adjustments and smoother overall user experience. Ex-user DalgleishGX found something fascinating in the current One UI 8 beta, particularly a new private album buried directly within the Samsung Gallery app. The leaker believes it's a simpler take on Secure Folder, created exclusively for concealing photographs and videos without leaving the gallery. Meanwhile, this private album feature may not come standard in the final One UI 8 release. Turns out it resides in the secret labs area of the Gallery app. It's essentially Samsung's testing area for experimental things that's not suited for everyone just yet. Some prior speculations assumed Samsung would employ Android 15's new private space API for this capability. That seemed reasonable, particularly with mention of Secure Folder also hopping on board in the One UI 8. Basically, it helped make sure your hidden content remains hidden and doesn't suddenly crop up where it shouldn't. Secure Folders glow up. Secure Folder is wonderful if you want full-on lockdown for your applications and data, but it might seem a little excessive for simply concealing a few images. A built-in private album seems like a simpler method to conceal select photographs or movies without going through all those additional hurdles. Apart from private album and gallery, the One UI 8 could step up how your phone handles background operations, making things work smoother. There's talk of smarter app recommendations, improved battery management, and more AI embedded into the OS. Other leaks and speculations point to some exciting new features in the One UI 8, including video summarization in Samsung Internet and an improvement to Secure Folder. Samsung should release the first beta in May with the One UI 8, but does it make sense? We can finally state that releasing the One UI 7 is progressing as planned. Samsung is distributing the upgrade to more and more models, and we don't hear that they suffer from any severe issues. The firm is undoubtedly riding the tide of current success, which is why it intends to deliver the beta by the end of May. It may seem pretty hard to believe given the status of adoption of the One UI 7. On the other hand, it may signal that with the One UI 8, and Samsung no longer wants to misjudge the situation and wants Android 16 and provide its newest superstructure to the market as soon as feasible. It was predicted that Android 16 to One UI 8 would be introduced first in July puzzles with the Galaxy Z Flip 7 and the Z Fold 7 respectively. Of course, nothing needs to change about it. Beta program superstructures the One UI 8, which will operate on the system Android 16, but it will most likely be deployed first on devices in the series Galaxy S25, but still only in certain locations. The live version might yet be published after the riddles sometime in July. The Beta One UI 7 on Galaxy S24, moreover, it lasted for almost 4 months, so there may easily be 3 months among the registered testers, which of course depends on how many versions the corporation really distributes. The objective of extensive testing is of course to detect as many system issues as possible. The first beta version One UI 8 per Galaxy S25 Ultra discovered leaker Taran VATS. This new firmware is claimed to be designated to 938BXXU3ZYES/938BXXU3BYEA, which has previously been released by Samsung servers. Now it simply depends if it will be launched in May or, as previously thought, in mid-June. Let's only mention that the models Galaxy S26 in early 2026, they will probably come out with the One UI 8.5. A recent source revealed that Samsung is all prepared to bring out the One UI 8 beta version, based on Android 16, in the 3rd week of May. Ahead of the launch, we've seen enough of the features the impending huge Samsung UI upgrade will bring. If these leaks are real, One UI 8 will be more secure than One UI 7, which had a bumpy start from the outset. Samsung is also planning to repair Secure Folder with a private space, It will employ Google's Private Spaces API instead of Android's Work Profiles, which had a vulnerability in One UI 7. However, Samsung will ultimately solve this bug in the forthcoming One UI update. This issue exposed users' media assets in secure folder to other applications. However, this weakness rendered these data viewable only to the persons who had physical access to your Galaxy devices. Although the advent of the new One UI 8 is far from being on the plan, one fascinating bit of information has already emerged, which will undoubtedly gratify many users. Samsung is apparently intending to raise the virtual RAM from the existing 8 gigs to 12 gigs, which might provide a variety of advantages. Currently, you may adjust the virtual RAM plus memory to 2 gigs, 4 gigs or 8 gigs as you wish. In the event of several running apps, this may produce quicker speed and improve phone performance. But it may still not be enough for you. Samsung is evidently aware of this, therefore the RAM Plus by another 4 gigs. As for ordinary RAM, the South Korean firm has provided its premium devices 12 gigs of RAM, which is not awful at all, but it could absolutely be better. After all, even before the debut of the Series S25, it was predicted that at least the model Galaxy S25 Ultra may acquire 16 gigs of RAM, which only occurred in a few areas. But in the end, it stayed the same worldwide Galaxy S24 Ultra to 12 gigs. However, if RAM Plus were included in the update, the One UI 8 has truly raised it to 12 gigs, which would be a pretty good improvement. There is also speculation that handsets with 16 gigs of RAM might go up to 16 gigs RAM Plus. Next, the One UI 8 is gaining early impressions, owing to an alpha version. The Galaxy A26 5G can take longer to update. Although Samsung is busy resolving a severe flaw in the One UI 7, the team is already actively working on the One UI 8. 2 blogs have released their initial impressions of the software based on Android 16. Amongst other things, quick share has been made clearer, and there are small design tweaks. An estimate of mobile devices getting the One UI 8 is also circulating. With the Galaxy S22 and Galaxy A55, the upgrade is likely to be smooth. However, with the Galaxy A26 5G, you do not need to undertake. An early alpha version of the One UI 8 for the Galaxy Z Flip 6 and Galaxy Z Fold 6 is already circulating around on the internet. The AI function, now short, which offers the user with a tailored agenda summary, was formerly reserved for the Galaxy S. Splitting up the send and receive sections provides Samsung Quick Share a greater perspective. Theme adjustments include hues of fast configure buttons and modest updates to layout of the system programs. For example, the gallery and file browser have been revamped. For the most part, however, the One UI 8 appears little different from the One UI 7, at least at this early level. It has been a long time since Samsung offered seamless upgrades on its smartphones, and it appears that not all models benefit. Android Authority gives a warning that the upcoming Galaxy A26 5G will not contain this capability. Therefore, you have to wait a short time while they update your phone before it is ready to use again. Seamless upgrades happen in the background and just require a new start. The previous technique executes the procedure after the reboot and then boots your cell phones entirely. The Galaxy Watches will also get the One UI 8 watch upgrade as indicated in our previous video. As you undoubtedly heard by now, Samsung is planning a huge new software update for Galaxy Watches. The phone will bypass version of the One UI 7 watch and leap directly to the One UI 8 watch. The issue today is which Galaxy Watches will get it. Samsung hasn't confirmed anything regarding the One UI 8 watch or which Galaxy Watches will receive the upgrade. However, in February 2022, the company stated it would support the Galaxy Watch 4 and subsequent variants with up to 4 years of the One UI watch and Wear OS upgrades. Based on this comment, the Galaxy Watch 4 and Galaxy Watch 4 Classic are theoretically eligible to get the planned One UI 8 watch upgrade at some point in the future. The Galaxy Watch 4 series launched in August 2021, and if the One UI 8 watch goes live before August 2025, it will be the final OS update for the Galaxy Watch 4 series. It all seems rather easy, all owing to Samsung's language a few years back. Note that Samsung promised up to 4 years of updates rather than up to 4 OS upgrades. If it were the latter, we would have been in danger, since it is very hard to tell what constitutes a big Galaxy Watch software change. That's because One UI Watch is built on Wear OS, and in turn, Wear OS is based on an Android version. The Galaxy Watch 4 launched with Wear OS 3.0 based One UI 3.0 watch. Wear OS 3.0, 3.2, One UI 4.0 watch, and 3.5, One UI 4.5 watch were all based on Android 11. Needless to say, making sense of Wear OS and One UI watch upgrades and figuring out what constitutes a big wristwatch update is a bit of a headache. But once again, since Samsung guaranteed support for 4 years rather than 4 OS versions, it stands to reason that the Galaxy Watch 4 series should get the One UI 8 watch as its final substantial upgrade. That is, if Samsung doesn't postpone the upgrade until August 2025, in which case we wouldn't be too confident about the Galaxy Watch 4's future. Based on early leaks, some of the most important One UI 8 watch updates and additions are: 1. Now Bar, Now Brief, and Shortcuts app. 2. New sounds, icons, Gemini AI, and tiles. 3. Antioxidant index feature for Samsung Health, may be exclusive to newer hardware. Of course, subsequent Samsung wristwatch devices, like the Galaxy Watch FE, Galaxy Watch 5, and Watch 5 Pro, the Galaxy Watch 6 and Watch 6 Classic, and the Galaxy Watch 7 and Watch Ultra, will also get One UI 8 watch. So that's all we know for now. We'll be sure to keep you updated as soon as we have more information. Thanks for watching.